Sweet Baby Inc. CEO Kim Belair had some interesting words to describe white male straight gamers back in 2019, speaking to the Game Developers Conference. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. This is over at thatparkplace.com. Wrote this up this morning. Headline is Sweet Baby Inc. CEO and co-founder Kim Belair compares white male gamers to picky babies. And that is indeed what she did during a 2019 Game Developers Conference that she gave a presentation on. But before we get into what she had to say about white male straight gamers, she does give a brief introduction about her company, Sweet Baby Inc., that she's the CEO and co-founder of. And she made it very clear exactly what the company's goals are, saying we do narrative development in games and kind of beyond, and we try to bring inclusion, diversity, and new ideas kind of to the industry. A little bit later, after she said that, she confirmed the company access sensitivity readers for video games, saying, you can see it right there on the screen, we need sensitivity readers, we need risk assessment, and these are again, important services that I literally list on every PDF that I send out to be like, hey, I can do risk assessment and sensitivity reading. So you kind of get a gist of what this company does if you don't know about them already. But then this is where we get to some of the juicy stuff. Obviously, she gives all of her kind of representation talking points that you expect from all of these DEI and ESG presentations that you've probably been subjected to over the past couple of years here. But about 2/3 through the 30-minute presentation, I think it's around the 18-minute mark, she compared white male gamers to picky babies, saying this: I think in our industry and in so many creative industries, if you want to look at film and television in any art form, we start treating our core demographics as a fixed and static value, something that does not want to change and something that is locked in place. So despite the changing face of audiences, despite the changing face of conferences like this one, we still look at our core demographics and say, okay, they're white, cis, hetero males, obviously using the term cis as a pejorative and hetero as a pejorative right there, right? I mean, just sick individual right here. And using this conference, speaking about it in this conference, and these people are all clapping like seals about this stuff, dude. It's sick. The video game industry clearly has a cancer in it, and Sweet Baby Inc. is part of that cancer. Nevertheless, she goes on and says, and we cater almost exclusively to them. And the problem is that we don't just cater to them here's something that we think you'll enjoy. We cater to them like a picky baby. Very clear there. She's describing what she says are white, cis, hetero males as picky babies. So just your average normal white dude is a picky baby is what she's saying. I mean, clearly racism just screaming out of her mouth right here. She goes on and says, we feed them the same thing that we know that they love, and we keep on feeding it. We're like, here you go. We know you love it. Eat this, eat this, eat this. So then when they get anything else, they react as a picky baby would, which would be like, oh, no, thank you. I do not want this. And we've actually done this so long that what we're doing is creating an entire nation of picky babies, and they make us scared to deviate from what we actually want to do, just in case these picky babies don't want to play our games. So this is important. She's saying that the video game developers are afraid of their customers not buying their product because they don't want it. That's what she's saying. And she's trying to make it like it's the customer's fault. She's blaming the customers for not wanting something that she's trying to force feed them. I mean, the pride, the hubris of these people. The fact that they say this, they said this out loud in 2019, and clearly we weren't aware of it, but now we are aware of it, and we're calling this stuff out and putting a giant spotlight on it. This stuff is disgusting, and it's evil. It's evil. Let's continue here, though. She goes on. While Belair's entire discussion was about how she can add black characters to video games under the guise of representation, she revealed she actually advised one company to remove a Frenchman. Like, you can't even make this up. She's doing this whole spiel about representation, and then she reveals that when one company wanted to add representation in the form of a Frenchman, she's like, no, that person needs to be black. Like, listen to this. I once worked on a project where they had an all-white cast where they expressed their desire, okay, we need to mix it up a bit. How about this character's like stereotypically French? So they have a beret and they have like a striped shirt. And I was like, okay, If you need to do that, can we at least make them a person of color? And they said, oh no, that would be weird. They're already French. So I want to do better than this. So literally, she doesn't want representation. She doesn't want any of this diverse stuff. She just wants black people in there. Like, she's admitting it. That's all she wants. Because she doesn't want a Frenchman in the game. She wants to make the Frenchman black. You can't make it up. These people are liars and they're hypocrites. They only have one agenda. They will try and tell you all these sweet baby words, right? Yeah, you get that. Sweet baby words to try and cover up what they really want to do. It's all about race for these people. It's not about representation. It's very clear there. She didn't want the Frenchman in the game. She then doubled down on her picky baby metaphor a little bit later. She says, I do like to imagine that when we look at white guys, and there's several of you here, I think when we look at you, we say, okay, you can't possibly enjoy this. But I think they want also, and maybe you want also, to experience new and different stories. I think we need to step out of this rule that like white men can enjoy fantasy worlds, aliens, sci-fi, monsters, anything, so long as it is through, as long as it's through a lens that looks exactly like them. This is just utterly ridiculous, too. I mean, just look at all the people that play Tomb Raider, and that is a female character in Lara Croft. I mean, she's literally created a straw man to attack white men, saying that white men only want to play white male characters in their video games. I mean, this person is an absolute liar. What's funny is that before she even talks about this, she does admit that, like, as a black woman, that she has no problems playing white male characters, such as Nathan Drake and Kratos, and she enjoyed those characters in those stories a lot. So, like, I mean, you really can't make it up. I just didn't include that here, but she does say that in the video. If you want to go back and watch, I'll have the link in the description below. But she goes on and says, because if that kind of person that we're always going to cater to, you're never going to innovate. You're never going to change things. You're going to keep feeding the picky baby. And we cannot continue to try to create art under a system that is going to bar innovation for fear of a picky baby throwing a tantrum. Again, I mean, she literally just hates white males. I mean, calling them picky babies over and over and over again, and then lying about them. I mean, she's just straight lying about them to try and create this straw man argument that she has propped up in order to push her own agenda. A little bit later, she said, I don't think it's pie in the sky thinking to go like, hey, maybe we can invite white dudes to play as other people and experience different things through someone else's eyes. And if they don't like it, we have to start thinking we're not losing, they're losing, and we're losing because we're going to let them stand in the way of our progress and our innovation. There you go. She thinks white people are the enemy and are standing in the way of whatever she views as progress and innovation. That is what she thinks. And she's saying it out loud at a conference, and these people were clapping like seals. I mean, absolutely disgusting behavior right there. And then maybe this is probably what you've probably seen going around a little bit, but remember how she was saying that she thinks the video game developers are operating in fear? Well, guess what? That's what she actually wants them to feel with her. She wants them to be terrified of her, and she actually tells people to terrify video game developers to get her way. This is what she said. If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many years, put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for them, you ask for consultants. When you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. There you go. She is telling people, lower level staff that work out in AAA, that work at AAA video game studios, to go and terrify them. But she's the one saying that video game developers are living in fear of the white male customer. But she's the one that's instructing people to terrify the video game developers. These people always lie, and when they do lie, they're lying about the things that they're actually doing. They're projecting it onto someone else, and she admits it right here in this 30-minute discussion that she has. You can't make it up. That's what these people do over and over and over again. They project what they're doing onto someone else so that they can then play the victim. It's sick, it's disgusting, and it's evil. She then elaborated and said this, because they have to consider. I say that out loud as a joke, but it's actually very, very true. So it's not a joke. She's admitting that what she's saying is true. She wants you to terrify. She wants people to terrify them. Because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing, and you have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive, there's like a genuine value that you can press upon them, both ethically and financially. You could say this is important. So it's all about race to her. Like that's what she's saying here. You're going to be called racist if you don't do this, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do. That's what she's saying. That's exactly what she's saying. And then she's saying financially, potentially losing ESG money is what probably saying there, because clearly we see her agenda has absolutely failed. Just look at Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, absolute abysmal. I don't know if she worked on Saints Row, but you can look at the most recent Saints Row game, complete and utter failure. Volition has been shut down by Embracer Games. I mean, there's plethora of examples. You can even look at Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which Sweet Baby Inc. did work on. These sales are only at 10 million. Last we heard, that is less than half than what the first one was. So huge decline in sales from Marvel's Spider-Man to Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I think Marvel's Spider-Man, the first one, had over 20 million in sales. I'm not exactly the exact number, but the Marvel Spider-Man 2 only did around 10 million that we know so far. And then she also went on and said this: it's also a valid discussion to have, because if you're working with a thin narrative budget and you work in AAA, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money that marketing can give you. So she's admitting that she's making absolutely bank off of this, because this is what her company does. They're a consultant company that comes in to do like, as we said, they do the sensitivity reading, etc. And so she's obviously trying to also get these employees to get her enrich herself, right? When we saw this with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, where they basically just took all of that money and then bought a bunch of mansions out in California for themselves. It's all a grift, and that's exactly what she's admitting to right here. And then, as she got to the end of her presentation, she would admit what she's doing is injecting wokeness into the video game industry. Like, she's admits it, right? She says, none of what we're doing is about ticking boxes or about a veneer of wokeness. It's not about a veneer. It is about wokeness. It's what she's saying. We actually have to care about making this stuff. So what I found really interesting about this is that it contradicts everything that Chris Kindred was trying to push out on Blue Sky before the Sweet Baby Inc. employee deleted the Blue Sky account after we found out about it. So she was posting all this stuff here, trolling their forums and chats, and realizing that they don't care about Sweet Baby at all. Sweet Baby is just the most visible and the most vulnerable. They think we're some super firm funded by BlackRock, receiving ESG funding, and tasked by some entity to hold studios hostage. That's exactly what Kim Belair was saying that you do, that you encourage their low-level staff to hold the video game studios hostages by terrifying them. That's exactly what Kim Belair just said. You are a liar, Chris Kindred. We have the receipts. Kindred went on and said, they don't know how many of us there are, so they make it up. They don't know what we do, so they make it up. They don't know the impact of our work has on the studios that hire us, so they make it up. We literally just went over exactly what your company does. We are not making it up at all. Again, liar. And when they have that many open spaces to play in, that they create their own boogeyman. That's exactly what Kim Belair did with white people, with white males. She created her own boogeyman. Again, projection, lie, gotcha. They think we're actively making games worse when studios are the ones making the choices they balk at, except you're literally trying to terrify those companies and accuse them of racism if you don't go along with what you are preaching. So, yeah, we got you on that too. But that's not to excuse all the studios, because there's obviously a lot of studios that have these departments now that do indeed push this stuff, and it has been institutionalized within a lot of the studios. I'm not going to give a blanket pass to these studios for doing all of this stuff. Obviously, there's blame to be laid at Sweet Baby Inc., and there's clearly blame to be laid at the studios that caved to them and also have adopted their evil ideology. Nevertheless, she goes on and says, the nature of our work is often at the end and is often just looking at things. That's also not true. Belair literally talks about how she encourages these low-level staffers to bring them on at the very beginning so they aren't accused of racism. And like, that's literally what she says if you go and watch the video. I'm not going to talk about it here because I didn't think that was super relevant, but she does say that. So again, I mean, this person is just every single lie exposed by this 2019 video. And then Kindred goes on and says, as a unit, we have no power toward any of the clients we work with, except we do know that Belair literally was telling people to terrify these clients so you hire them and you're not accused of being called racist. Absolutely not true. They're mad at market conditions. That's not true. We see what the market conditions are. The games you have touched have been failures or have done significantly worse than previous games in those franchises. Obviously, Marvel Spider-Man. They're mad at studio decisions. Yes, I will agree with that. They're mad at the world changing away from their fascist beliefs. There you go. Again, if you don't like Sweet Baby Inc. and the agenda that they're pushing, you are a fat. This is ridiculous. Again, this is the tactic that Belair was saying. We're going to accuse you of the the racism, the fascism, etc., etc. Here it is on full display. They just need is a punching bag because they know AAA Studios will sue them into earth. What I don't even know what she's even talking about there. You're the one who's created the straw man and the punching bag with Kim Belair and white male gamers. And then Kindred finished this off saying they think they're doing activism. That's what you're doing. You're doing activism. We literally have Kim Belair admitting that what she's doing is not a veneer of wokeness, which implies that it is wokeness by targeting smaller, more visible organizations in hopes that AAA studios will get scared. That's what you do. You are the ones that are trying to terrify the AAA studios. Kim Belair says it. She tells people to terrify them. They don't know. They don't have an end goal, just in unmitigated vitriol. And then Kindred concluded saying, I don't know, man, crap was fine after the first day, but the Zionists from earlier this week wore me down and I meant to replace. So who even knows what that ending means? Just bizarre kind of conclusion, but complete and utter lies from this Sweet Baby Inc. employee who tried to get Cabrutus banned from Steam and shut down the Steam curator list. And now we're digging into more of what your company is doing and what they've been up to. And it is utterly disgusting and vile. But those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you guys make of what is going on with Sweet Baby Inc. and what Kim Belair had to say back in 2019 at this game developers conference about white male straight gamers and comparing them to picky babies and basically telling us what the agenda is at Sweet Baby Inc. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.